Hello, everyone. My name is Shellie Willis, and thank you for joining me for my segment, which is Crucial Conversations. Crucial Conversations is all about addressing the challenges that our women veterans, our veteran community face, and finding solutions to those challenges. So today, thank you for joining me for part three of a three-part series for my Crucial Conversations and my competition run as for Miss Veteran America 2020. Now, I'm excited that you joined me today. I have some wonderful, wonderful guests. And as you know, the rules are this: we are just having a conversation. We're highlighting some of the challenges that we face as women veterans and in our military community, but we are also going to find solutions, and we're just going to have a good time doing it. But we want to make sure that we're thoughtful. We'll be able to answer your questions while we're going through this. Right now, my guests should be starting their watch parties if they're starting them. And we will also um, be able to interact with you. We will have all of your comments will be posted in our Zoom chat because we're streaming live from Zoom. So as I hear or see questions, I'll try to hopefully be able to get to those and address them as we're having our conversation. Now, in this competition run for Miss Veteran America 2020, I have been enlightened in so many ways. The organization that puts this competition on is Final Salute Inc. And Final Salute Inc.'s mission is to provide safe and suitable housing for our homeless women veterans and their children. This organization realized very on in 2010 when it was created by Major Jazz Booth that there were a lot of needs specifically for our homeless women veterans that were not met. The unique needs that need to be met are addressing several factors that also contribute to homelessness. As we've talked lately, it's been around substance abuse, lack of VA benefits, domestic violence. We could go on and on, unemployment, a lot of different challenges that really do actually or correlate to those things that contribute to women veteran homelessness. We've talked about the gross domestic program, grant per diem programs. We talked about unemployment. We've talked about veteran services. And today I wanted to bring up something that is also important, is knowing where to find your support and your services. We have our state, your Washington State Department of Veteran Affairs Director, Alfie Alvarado. We have Liza Narcisco. We have Sharon Kirkpatrick. We have Monique Brown. Each and every one of these women have amazing, amazing roles that they play in Washington State. So today I wanted to make sure in my own backyard, in my home state of Washington State, right now where I reside, I wanted to highlight what the women in Washington State have available to them, and how can our women veterans get connected? What are we doing to address homelessness? How are we providing those services? What legislative acts are happening right now that we need to be aware of? How is our Washington State Department of Veteran Affairs doing what they need, what they can do to support and serve our women veterans here in Washington State? So with no further ado, I'm going to start with Alfie Alvarado, and then we'll just go around the horn, and each one of you will introduce yourselves, the role that you play in our wonderful state of Washington State, and we'll just go from there and head into the conversation once you've all introduced yourselves.
Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Alfie Alvarado, and I am the director of your Washington State Department of Veterans Affairs.
Liza.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. I'm Liza Narciso, and I'm your State Women Veterans Coordinator for Washington State, and I'm with your Washington Department of Veterans Affairs.
And what is your other title, young lady?
Oh, and last July, I was elected as the president of the National Association of State Women Veterans Coordinator. And this is an association that comprises of different 50 state women veterans coordinator, along with the state territory, Guam, Puerto Rico, US Virgin Island, Mariana Islands, Samoa, all those kind of things.
All right. Sharon?
Oh, yeah. Hi, this is Sharon Kirkpatrick. Right now, what the most interesting thing I've been doing is volunteering at the American Legion, assisting them with helping women in particular file claims. I'm also a member of the committee, Alfie being our distinguished head, Lisa being our other distinguished head, and Monique being our president and leader. One of the things I want to mention is that I work with the most hard to serve population of women veterans. That is women veterans that are incarcerated and all over Washington state. So hopefully we'll get a chance to talk more about that.
All right, Miss Monique Brown.
Hey, hey, what's good, everybody? Monique Brown, the executive director and founder of Forward Operating Base Hope, a nonprofit that does outreach to to veterans who are homeless and need assistance getting off the street. I also am the chair of the Women Veterans Advisory Committee. I do work for...
Uh-oh.
Monique, your volume.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
I think there was a little bing, and
Yeah.
I don't know how to turn that off without this. I'm sorry. So anyway, and I'm the Pathfinder coordinator for King County, which is to give all the best practices and training and things to those who are doing outreach in King County. I do a few other things, but that's enough for now.
All right, so let's get into it, ladies. So we have, well, let's start with, Sharon, I want to start with you about the incarcerated women veterans. That whole, I know from a workforce development perspective, working with our incarcerated folks when we're trying to get them to transition out and setting up those cycles, those pipelines for processes out. What are some of the things that you're finding that have been the most challenging with our women veterans when you're working with them as they're trying to get prepared to transition out of incarceration?
Well, one of the most challenging things is to tap into the issue of self-esteem. These women served their country, and then after they were done serving their country, got out and made a mistake here or there. So one of the most important things we do is we say to them, you are a veteran. You served your country first, and that makes you a veteran. They have never heard those words before. And so we work with them to build the self-esteem up, which leads to being able to help them do any kind of paperwork or get more knowledge about their benefits. Every time we meet, there's always a, I didn't know that. The first one being, I didn't know I was a veteran. And then we go from there.
Wow. I mean, and just women walking around who served and feel as though they only did 2 or 3 years struggle with identifying as a veteran. So I can only imagine what a woman being incarcerated is, what her challenges are, and how she feels trying to, become a part of her community again and reset herself and rejoin. Yes.
And so, even her knowing that there's a community that will welcome her.
Right.
It's key.
So what are some services that you all are putting together or that you have going on right now that are preparing them for this transition back into their communities?
Well, unfortunately, because of COVID, we haven't been able to meet in person for 6 months. So one of the things we do, the American Legion has paid for several of our women to become members of the American Legion. And the one thing they get is the American Legion magazine. So right there, they get exposed to monthly information, which can help. We've had a lot of speakers when we were going in person. Every time they have a speaker, they are able to collect more and more information, research their own situation. And also we gifted them with books that are journals. And on the front of the book, it says, I am a veteran. And then they go through that process of keeping notes. So when they learn something or when they get a reference, they know they can get this accomplished when they get out.
Okay, thank you. I mean, that's just good to know. So are there any additional changes that they've been able to make? Meaning, are they able to have Zoom speakers come in via Zoom and be hosted that way so that there's still connection? There's no change?
No, unfortunately,
Wow.
no. But we do have one of our women that's an iron worker now for the city of Seattle. She has done a promotion video as a recruitment tool for other women. We've had successes, and those women in turn go out and tell other people. So it's really word of mouth. A lot of it is word of mouth. The resources that are there are still there, and they're just biding their time. And we have 17 women currently that I'm aware of. I use the number 17 because it fluctuates. It could have increased in the last month, or it could have decreased, but we do have several women releasing in 2021. And I said, we've got to be prepared.
Oh my goodness. Well, I could only imagine that. And I think the biggest thing about it, when you're coming out of incarceration and you're trying to reintegrate back into society and rejoin your communities, the hope is that you don't go into homelessness. You have the resources that you know you need to be able to succeed. And the goal is that you create more success stories. And so the women who have been successful in their transition, that is a visual, and that's a reality, that there is something greater, and that identifying as a veteran and knowing my benefits and knowing what I have access to. It's just that know before you go rule, even with our women who are serving. The lack of knowledge that I could even think about, that I even had about what was available to women veterans when I transitioned, it's changed even since then. And that was 2012. So I can only imagine what anyone else is going through.
Well, just like you wear your sash. Women always say when they get out of prison, they think there's an invisible sash that says felon. And we've changed that dynamic so that now they really believe they have a sign that says veteran.
I will say, Shellie.
Go ahead, Monique. Yes.
Sharon is being a little modest too, because not only is she working with women transitioning out, but Sharon has made such connections that people are contacting her, police officers are contacting her and saying, hey, we've got this veteran who lives in a particular area, and they keep calling 911 or having issues with the police. And they're connecting us as the Women Veterans Advisory Committee to these women, and we're able to help them that way. So not just people transitioning out, Sharon is really helping with people who are involved with the police as well, and not even incarcerated. So it's bigger than that. I will say that I would love to see a home that is created for those women transitioning out, so that we can take them, put them in that transitional home. And maybe we have that already somewhere, I don't know, but it would be nice to have that. We provide them with everything they need, the transportation to get to where they need to go, to get them, give them support and get their, IDs back, driver's license back, whatever they need to do, so that we kind of wrap around them. Recidivism is huge. And if you release somebody to homelessness, that can cause them to go right back. So if we do the right thing upon their release, we're saving them from going back into the system and creating that success story.
This is just that transition house. Alfie, what say you? How are you? Let's talk about it. With the things that I know you're doing a lot of great work at with the WDVA, but you sit in a lot of big tables, making a lot of lofty decisions that impact everyone nationally. So what do you have to say? Talk about.
Well, my charge is to be able to be the principal advocate on behalf of the governor for veterans and their families in Washington State. And that charge is accomplished through the work of the amazing people. Some of them are right here as panelists, and being able to fulfill the promise, that we have made to our veterans, to be able to care for them and be able to be their advocate and get their benefits. So we do that through an agency that has over 28 programs that range all the way from claims programs in being able to present veterans and their claims to the federal government so that they can get the benefits that we earned, because this is not charity. The benefits that are out there that many women veterans are living on the table, that need to be able to claim through professional service officers and other, and other methods are there for the asking. So these programs are the ones that connect from claims all the way to having a veterans farm, in which several of the plots that we have in the farm are being grown by women veterans. who
Yes.
are farmers now learning a new trade, apprenticeship programs, peer-to-peer programs, a behavioral health or counseling and wellness program, which we have counselors that are not VA counselors, they're our own. So the portfolio of services that we have as an agency is one of the largest in any agency in the country. So we're really proud of the agency we have. And the one thing that I would ask those who are viewing is to go to our website. Just Google Washington Department of Veterans Affairs and start looking to see what are those things that interest you or that you may be able to be eligible for, to ensure that we can then connect you to those services. And then you, as you connect, talk to your other sisters, because that's what this is all about. It's not just about getting services for you, but then it's being able to just continue taking the word out to the next person and the next person. And I can tell you that in the process of being able to connect a veteran to services, especially with a lot of the issues and conditions that we have, from military sexual trauma to exposure to toxins while serving on active duty, you are going to be saving somebody's life. You are going to save somebody's life by making an on-time referral or being able to connect another sister or brother to the services that they earned.
I mean, we're getting a lot of conversation in the chat, Alfie. You just like, you've gotten all kinds of responses. Totally needing those. Crystal Dandridge said we totally need those resources here. What I hear you saying is the resources are here. Some people just need to know where to go. And I know we've all been a part or sit around the table in our community of practice efforts, the Washington State Military Transition Resource Council, and we have had these conversations for years, and always trying to find that one place. And we all agree that the WDVA is where all those resources need to live, because everyone can identify with it. It's a place where you can go.
Exactly. And somewhere here in the chat box, we're going to have Liza Narcisco put her name, her email address, and her telephone number, because she is the Women Veterans Coordinator.
Yes.
And to us, she is basically the funnel through which requests come in.
Yes.
And her expertise in being able to funnel people to the right service is going to be the kind of the one stop.
Yes.
And so any kind of concern or question or service that is needed should be able to go directly to her, and she'll be putting that in her chat to make sure that it doesn't go all over the place. You know, our women should be able to have a place to call home, and that place should be your Washington Department of Veterans Affairs, but also all of those like Monique and Sharon and others who deal with the specialty services that are able to serve all.
That's great. And so we're going to be sharing that. We have it in the chat. Eve is going to also supplant it in the comments, and we'll also post it on our other sites where this is streaming. That single point of contact is so important. You know, when we talk about our systems work, you always want to create that single point of contact. What is that point of entry? How do I get to it? I know in Pierce County, I sit here and I work on our Pierce County Veterans Homeless Task Force. And it's just interesting how we have all of these streams, all of these avenues, these points of entry to get to be able to assist the veteran from homelessness, to get the supportive services, to get them to stability, right? And so that is extremely important, but getting our women veterans to self-identify and to want to seek the assistance is so hard. So I want to transition over to Liza, because Liza, your role, as we were talking before we actually went live, is really pinnacle. You actually have a seat at a very big table. So can you talk to us about that and what you've been, how did you get there? What got you into this position? And what are some of the things that you're tackling right now?
So I am one of the person, and I've been telling, and Alfie is testimony to this. I just like to work behind the scene. And, you know, when something is given to me, I just run wild with it. And I had the honor of doing this way back like 2010, and I attended the first state women veterans coordinator training conference, and I learned a lot of stuff as I went along. And then 4 years ago, everybody approached me, hey, you really sound like a good person that we would be able to go to and take our association to the next level. And at that time, her own organization nationally, and I told them that I wouldn't be doing justice to our association because back in my home state, which is Washington, I am not only I am the Women Veterans Coordinator, my full-time job is the assistant to our director. And so they said, okay, can you be at least our vice president? So I said, yeah, sure. So what the first thing that when I had come on board, before I became vice president and stuff, I said, you know what? I have the opportunity to attend my boss's conference and all the stuff, and they're able to forge an MOU with the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, which is the big umbrella for all the services that is out there for our veterans. And I said, why can't we, as a national organization that represent over 2 million women veterans, do the same thing that the VA need to come to us when it comes to like any things they have going out on the pipeline when it comes to women veterans. Who else is, like have the knowledge but us, because we are, like men. I mean, let's face it, I don't think there was ever a woman secretary of the VA, and I think it's high time that they do. Because like our needs, I know we always get lumped to our counterpart, men veterans, and then we found ourselves that we have to, I think, kind of really validate that we are women veterans. For crying out loud, hey, like all the military specialty, women are doing it, where before it wasn't done. So like last July 1st, I became the president, and I was asked by my colleagues, I said, so what is gonna be your focus? So the one thing, because I'm also a victim of it, is my 4 areas of focus right now for the 4 years that I'm gonna be president is military sexual trauma. I think this thing needs to be addressed.
Yes.
I mean, so the one thing I know, Shellie, you're gonna mention it, there's gonna be the I Am Vanessa Gillian Act that's gonna be introduced in the House sometime in November. So that's one area. And then the other one that we had talked about is homelessness. And then the third one of my focus is suicide prevention and awareness. And Alfie and I just got done with the policy academy because our governor had accepted the challenge on reducing homelessness among service member, veterans, and family members. And I have learned from last February when Alfie and I attended her national conference from the guru at the VA that the suicide among women veterans is on the rise. It's now higher than our civilian counterpart. And my fourth and last one is the women access to healthcare through the VA. And, so those are the 4 things right now that I am focusing on. And I was very fortunate that as soon as I became a president, I got contacted by the House and Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs in Washington, D.C. And they said, we would like for you to come here to Washington, D.C. to testify on some numerous bills. But because of COVID-19, I was not able, but I was able to write like a 3-pager, and I will share it to everyone. I will post it in our website too, what I had testified. So that, I mean, like each day, I had struggled with, like, I thought, when I suffered the MSC, I thought that's one thing that I was gonna take to my grave, but stressors was just coming here and there. And I am very fortunate now that I am free to talk about it and bring those women to the needed services. Because, you know, like if you don't get, like Alfie said, right now with COVID-19, our mental health issue is all paramount.
Yes.
You know, I mean, there are help out there. And the one thing too that I want to share in the chat box is the VA has a women veterans hotline staffed by women veterans 24/7, 300 all year round. So if you just need somebody to talk to, you can call this number, or you can call me. I already posted my information just to like ask me how, I mean, for my sisters out there, if you suffered MS, I mean, this is really huge right now with what happened to Vanessa.
Yes.
I mean, a lot of women is coming forward, getting assistance. And I always tell the VA, when I went there, I said, you know what? I told Jackie Haysbird, who is the director of Center for Women Veterans, I said, ma'am, when I walk through that VA, you need to do it right the first time. Because if you don't do it right, the chances of me coming back is 0. And that's gonna be one woman that's, you know, like probably end up substance abuse, alcohol abuse, and all those kind of things. So I said, you need to do it right. And I believe there's a bill, one of the bill that I supported, and as along with the Alphys Association, is HR 3010, which is honoring all veterans act. And one of the things that we are trying to do is to change the VA's motto and slogan. You know, when you walk through the VA in Washington, DC, it has that famous quote by President Lincoln. And that's really like, it really like doesn't include me, because it says to something to born here, and then we're trying to change it to like to those who have borne the battle. I'm women power.
Like, taking it all in, because you're hitting all kinds of points. I'm getting messages and I'm like, oh, you're knocking it out the park, hitting that, talking about that, specifically about the VA's mission statement and to be inclusive. A lot of people that I've heard about that have said, well, it was a quote. And I said, that's great. It was a quote, and that's great. But it doesn't mean that the quote can't change. And it's just a word. Yes. It's just a word.
Yes.
It's just a word.
Because I think that's one of the reasons too why for many, many years, the only identified myself as a veteran.
You break it, kind of losing a little bit.
I only served 6 years active and 2 years active reserve. And they said, it was just part of my, you honorably served, right? I said, yeah. So you're a veteran. And I said, how many times I have to tell you, I'm not a veteran. I am a spouse of a veteran, but not a veteran. But now, you know, like I can proudly say I serve this country honorably, and I want our sister arms to come forward and claim our place in history.
So,
you know,
let's talk about, you brought up some legislative acts. When you talked about healthcare and equitable services, that's what the Deborah Sampson Act is supposed to do. It's supposed to provide resources and equitable access to those resources, right?
Yes. So, you know, I mean, like the one thing that I always live by is what I was taught growing up. My parents always tell me, you know, like, would you have become a little person if like you go there and ask and they say no? And then my father said, don't be one of those people that wonders what, like the what ifs.
Right.
So we need to like keep us, I mean, until we, we go there to the VA, our legislator and stuff, and tell them, hey, this system is broken. We need to have something done. Until we do that, like the VA is not gonna know. They're just gonna be cruising along, like everything is rosy and sunny. We're walking on that golden brick road. But like we need to be the change that we want to see in this. I think that's somebody's famous quote.
Yes.
We
Well, I
need
think
to
I
start
got a famous
ourselves.
quote. Can I give you a famous quote for that?
Yes.
My mama said a closed mouth don't get fed. So we need to open our mouths.
Let's say that. So let's transition. I don't want to end. I don't want this kind of, I want to go into, so we're talking about legislation. Are there any new legislative acts that are coming up that specifically will be, are being updated or readdressed around women veteran homelessness or homelessness for our veterans?
That one, I don't know if there is, because the only one that I have to, the one that that came up last July was the House. It's HR 3582, which is to amend the U.S. Code to expand the scope of the Advisory Committee and Minority Veterans.
Okay.
And then the other one is, this one is really good too. The HR 96 is to amend Title 38 to require the Secretary of the VA to furnish dental care in the same manner as any other medical service and for other purpose. I think what this bill is trying to do, how if like the VA is this different category for access of care. So they have priority one. I believe it goes through 8. So they're saying that you don't have to, why do you have to be 100% service connected to access
Receive
dental
that care?
care? Yeah. So why can it be the same thing as the health care? Because let's face it, as we get older, the one rising cost that a lot of elderly, our seasoned veterans are gonna be carrying is the cost of health care. And sometimes they have to forego the dental care because it's really expensive. So why can't the VA, do the same thing?
Okay. Alfie, you
So
were bringing
that's one of
something
them.
up?
And
Hold on, Lisa, real quick. Alfie, you were bringing something up?
Yes, I do, because, a lot of people think that they have to be service connected to be able to go to the VA for care or at least request care. And it's really important to start the ball rolling, being able to sign up for VA healthcare. First of all, to at least get the VA card. There's a VA card that is issued by the VA, whether you're service connected or not, that allows for you to be able to get those discounts, the 10% or the 20% at Cabela's or whatever, wherever you purchase that they honor veterans as a start. And then be able to start looking at what you're eligible for, because the VA will provide emotional health care or behavioral health care free of charge, and it's a way of being able to get the foot in the door to be able to start understanding the things that you're eligible for. So, VA is critical to be able to start getting the foot in the door and start getting your ID, start getting to talking with a service officer, see what you're eligible for. Or if you are not eligible for some services totally free, you may be able to use it as an insurance or gap insurance.
Okay.
If you're over 65, to be able to use it as a secondary and not have to purchase secondary insurance. So there are a lot of benefits in being able to just start that ball rolling, and it's pretty easy. But if there are any questions about that, Lisa will be able to answer some of those and send some information. So healthcare, first thing is sign up with VA Health. It can be done online, which is pretty easy. And then you have to go take your picture later on to the medical center.
Yes, you do. And I remember 2 years ago, I did that. 2 years ago, when it came out, I think it was 2 years ago when it came out, or I was made aware of it anyway. And it was also the decision that I made that I needed to walk the talk. So I couldn't be out here advocating for women veterans or veterans at all in our military community, in our communities at large. I couldn't be sitting up here on stages talking to people and I wasn't walking the talk. So I made a conscious decision to not only get my card, my ID card, but I also started going to the Women Veterans Health Clinic. Right. And I started accessing the services that I had earned. I could not imagine that, you know, right now they say there's an estimated 82 to 87% of women veterans who do not access their VA health benefits. They do not tap into those benefits. And last week's show had Michelle Love on, and she was talking about as a veteran service officer, all of the things that she's seen as she's tried to connect with women veterans to get them to access their benefits. And there's a veteran service officer located usually countywide, regionally, someone that you can connect with in order to get your services, or to have someone sit down with you and walk you through and see what you need, what you actually are entitled to. I could not, and I'm sitting up here and I had a direct line of access as a retiree. I just went and I did what I was supposed to do. And now the VA has a transition program for women veterans to know before they go, so that they can understand what resources are available to them, what VA benefits they can get health-wise, healthcare, and things like that the VA have created. That usually when you're serving, you're not thinking that those things are relevant. You're not thinking like that. And so now I've completely changed my rhetoric. It's about knowing before you go, get those benefits, go use the Women Veterans Health Clinic. I have a great relationship with my provider. And so it's just really being able to connect the dots of why this matters. And your service or what's due to you doesn't stop once you take those boots off. I want to talk about some of the challenges. Monique, you with Fob Hope, what you've been doing and what you've been seeing in our homeless veteran community. What are some of the things that you've been doing recently to really shore up the resources? How are you making that happen? If you all don't know, Monique Brown launched into this Mask Up, been able to provide some great resources. And I just want to tap into that with what you've been doing.
Well, Shellie, I will say that COVID is a challenge, right? When you're trying to do outreach and you can't gather people, it's a challenge. So you got to get creative in these times. So I did do Operation Mask Up in Renton and in Puyallup, and the VFW was instrumental in allowing us to use their parking lots to do these events. And if you can set up a distribution event, then the health department is good for that, right? So you got to have your social distancing, you have to wear your mask, and have your folks that are coming out for services wear their mask and social distance. But we've done it by just doing, distribution events. There's another one coming up here, and the information is not out yet, but it will be taking place at CenturyLink Field in the North parking lot. And that one is Military Veteran Supply Drop. There will be 12 veteran organizations working together to make this happen, as well as a major team in Seattle who may or may not be in their season right now.
Shall remain nameless.
We shall remain nameless, but we are putting on this event. Minority Veterans of America will be heading this event, kind of being the overall host, but it's going to be a trunk event. So people will go online, apply for what they need.
Yes.
The box will be put together. Of course, yes. Fob Hope will be doing backpacks with hygiene kits inside. Each kit will come with a $100 gift card, but if I find that it's a bigger family, then they will get a larger gift card, and that is for groceries.
Yes.
It's possible by a donation from Hagen, which is Hagen, Albertson, some other retail grocery stores, and $10,000 grant from them to be able to get these food cards to folks, because people are struggling during COVID. So we will have that event, as well as I'm still doing work in the community. In Pierce County, we have a feeding program because a lot of the shelters closed down. The feeding programs closed down due to COVID. So Tammy and Nikki are volunteers in Pierce County, and they feed 4 days a week behind a store in Puyallup. They set up a table, they bring out a hot meal, they have a hand washing station, facial coverings, food, dessert, and then a lot of times they'll give them a bag non-perishables. So we're doing what we can during COVID. I know there's a bigger need. I am working with Pierce County and King County on those needs, but I will say the struggle is finding women veterans. The struggle is getting women to identify, and we can help women if we can get them to identify. So that's been the biggest challenge.
So let me ask, because I see Sharon leaning in. Sharon, what are your thoughts on that, on the connectivity, on the identification? What are your thoughts on getting our women veterans to know that they're safe, to know that they will be respected, to know that if they come with children, there's resources for that, because it's treated as a barrier where it should not be treated as a barrier.
What comes to mind, a couple of different things, when you said walk the talk, it has a lot to do with how the information gets out to individual women that have come in contact with the assistance. The women that we've been seeing recently, there is a lot of success, but the women out there that are contemplating suicide, and in the last 60 days, Monique and I have had the occasion to assist 2 women. We did have one woman that we weren't in touch with, and she did kill herself. We've had 2 others that Monique got out there within 24 hours, and it was the Seattle Police Department, because the Seattle Police Department, they have a lot of police officers that come from veteran service. So what's happening is if they come into contact with a woman, they now are changing their way of thinking that this woman might be a veteran, and perceiving, knowing enough to ask the question and find out before that person gets put into jail. So we have had 2 women that we have been able to save, and Monique showed up within 24 hours. And I know it's not an institutionalized thing. It's a one lamb at a time. It's one woman at a time. And you've got to understand that women see their service differently. Number one, they tend to think like 2 years, I didn't do anything. Even the connection to being able to go to the VA and register for healthcare. If you're coming out of prison, if you're coming out of homelessness, no matter what it is, Alfie was right on. That is a key to get in there and to understand that you are a veteran. And again, we've changed our language to say, have you served? Have you served your country at any point in your life? And we can have a woman that's 65 that says she was in boot camp when she was 18 and got out after 2 years. Bingo. It just has to happen.
Listen, I want to be the one to say, Sharon, right here on this call, if you went to basic training or boot camp, as they called it back in the day, and you went to a specialized training for your military career, you are a veteran. You served. Yes. So don't say, oh, I didn't do anything. Yes, you did. When you raised your hand, you did something.
Yep.
What is it, 1% of Americans?
And so women veterans are less than the 1%. That's why I say we're underrepresented demographic within a demographic. We serve and suppress at the same time, and we don't know our values. So when I talk to these veteran groups, I'm separating. I'm literally clearly creating a separation. Right now, officially today, you are a woman veteran. You are a woman who served. Now you're not just a soldier, sailor, airman, marine, or Coast Guardsman. You are a mother, sister, wife, daughter. You are all of those things. And so, but you served, and you're entitled to the same thing as the people to your left or your right. And so when we're synonymous, we're together, we're in alignment, we look the same, we walk, we have the same uniform, but there will be a moment where you get to separate yourself and you get to self-identify.
And as an advocate, Shellie, I mean, I said this at the beginning of the call, when John Lewis speaks about good trouble, that's a wonderful thing about being an advocate. When we started this program in the prison, trust me, they did not want us there.
Mhm.
And so what is it? It's good trouble, because I started asking the question in a class that I was teaching,
Mhm.
you know, what is your employment experience? I had a woman say, I don't have any employment experience. I was in the military. I'm
Oh,
like,
oh goodness.
so,
You got
Oh,
all kinds of employment experience.
all kinds of employment experience. It's almost like that little voice. What I love about Lisa was on a clear road, but she doesn't even realize how open she has become. And I remember Lisa sharing her story about how she didn't think she was a veteran and all these things. And she also said some key things that other women veterans say, because they get out, they assimilate and they become military spouses as if they can't be both. Right.
Right.
I always say I had dual citizenship, right?
Yeah.
A military, it's a
Yeah.
dual military couple. I was a military spouse and I was a soldier. I just identified with being the soldier first because that was my full-time job, but so was being a spouse. So I don't
know.
if you have dual citizenship, I'm telling you now, ladies, if you serve and you are a military spouse, you were doing that at the same time already. And so you have dual citizenship. You don't have to pick one over the other. You don't have to negate it. You get to own that you were
Right.
both. And so
and you know what, Shellie, when women had a not so good experience in the
Yes.
military,
Mhm.
sometimes it's just like Vietnam veterans that didn't want to say they served.
Right.
Women don't want to say they served sometimes because it wasn't a good experience.
It was an
just want to
assault.
walk away from it
It was an
sometimes.
assault to leave. And
Yeah.
so that's why the I Am Vanessa Gillian Act is going to be so important. No
Yes.
organization can police itself. We
Yes.
all know that. And it's men
Yes.
and women who are suffering, right?
Right.
Yes.
And
Right.
we've made great strides. The points that what I love about it all is that we're really trying to we're being intentional and true,
Yeah.
transparent. This
Yes.
is a mess. And we're like, this is what needs to be addressed. I want to go in, but we don't want to end this without talking about the women advisories. Is it committee or council?
Committee.
So let's talk about the Women Advisory Committee. I want to talk about one, what has your journey been like? Two, how can people reach you? And if someone wants to put an application in to join the committee, what is that process? So let's start there. Let's just, whose vision was this? So Alfie, let's just start with you, because I know that a lot starts with you.
Okay, so I do not know if many of you know, I'm the first woman director of the State Department of Veterans Affairs.
Wow.
And one of the things that we, as I came into the agency, I noticed was the fact that we didn't have enough women service officers. We didn't have enough women in positions of responsibility in the agency. And little by little, it doesn't, it's not just me, our department directors and others really started focusing, because you have to just keep working at it to be able to bring awareness of being able to have big hiring pools that include more people so that you can have more choices. So we've been able to make a lot of progress in the number of women who are in different roles in the agency. Actually, we have a lot more than, it's pretty darn good when it comes to where we are with women's representation and also ethnic representation in our agency. But we have a Veterans Advisory Committee that is by the governor, is established by the governor, but we didn't have a Women Veterans Advisory Committee. So that's one of the things that when I became the deputy director, actually started working, and Lisa was my assistant, and we started working on this path of being able to choose incredible women who have passion for service to be able to start working in this committee. As a result, we've had a number of women veterans conferences, and of course, with COVID and everything, we've had to kind of put that off. But frankly, the ability of being able to do things via video is going to actually increase our reach into the women veterans community. So we're going to be doing a lot more of that. So in looking at the committee, there are a number of different purposes: incarcerated women veterans, information, funneling referrals, and a strategic plan that is being put in place that is going to be addressing more issues. And I'm going to leave that to Lisa and to Monique as the chair to be able to talk a little bit more about some of the focus of the Women Veterans Advisory Committee, which the logo is, it's here. Let me see, right here. And basically it's a woman with a helmet, the silhouette of a woman. There are 5 stars, each one for the 5 different services. And the biggest star, if you notice, the largest one is the Army, of course.
You know, I see Sharon waving that finger now. Wait a minute.
Monique, can you talk just a little bit about the goals and all that?
Oh man, now you put me on the spot.
Of course.
So really we have several goals. The first one and the major one is outreach, letting people know that we exist and trying to see what the women veterans in this community need. The second goal is to, bring together women, right? And find out, how we can support one another. And then let them know that we exist, find out what they need. So we can push that. Lisa's doing a lot in legislation. We need to be able to push what women veterans need here. Those are the 2 I remember. Lisa, can you help me a little bit?
Yes, so that's one. And like I said, most importantly is accessing your earned benefits. So I am, again, I guess I'm gonna use myself as a good example. Until Alfie told me, said, did you go and, are you collecting any benefits? And I said, no. Well, you need to go downstairs and talk to one of our service officers. So I did. And I think initially I just got 20%. And, yeah, that's okay. And cause like you too, Shellie, like many other, I have medical to my husband, TRICARE. So I really didn't care about the TRICARE, the benefits, but now I am 90% service connected. Woo, woo. And after, since COVID-19 hit, and then I heard all this horrible story going to Madigan, and I said, I'm not going through that route. So I enrolled in the VA healthcare system, and like Shellie, I have a good medical team that I saw them twice in person, but a lot of my appointment is telehealth. But yeah, please, you need to access your earned benefits. We try to change legislation and how and care for women veterans in the VA health administration. It's not gonna change if, we're not gonna go there and tell them, okay, this is what I know, like right now they're making stride on the reproductive system. And then for the like if you're pregnant, they have a good prenatal care when you give birth and all those kind of things. It's really, please, yeah, we need people. And I know if you guys came last year, I believe it was September, we did the I Am Not Invisible campaign, and everybody enjoyed that. And luckily for us, the VA photographer was able to come last March and do our I Am Not Invisible photo shoot. It really went awesome. And your committee had done 2 webinars so far this year, and we're doing one next year just to begin dialogue with women veterans during this COVID-19. There's a lot of things going on. And then I know one of the most paramount is the emotional well-being. Like for women veterans that are juggling being a wife, workforce and stuff. Now you have to deal at being the teacher of your school-age children, because now you have to homeschool your kids. And to me, I know I see that in my neighbors, like their stress level is out there. So there's help out there to address all this issue. But then if you don't come forward, we don't know. So you need to help us bring our women, our sister at arms, to get all this information they need.
And another focus is definitely where Sharon is probably chomping at the bit is, our women that are incarcerated, making sure that we do better for the women that are incarcerated, making sure we have the release kit is what I call it, so they have the bed in the bag, the technology they need, the transportation, the support they need. The other thing I would like to do, honestly, Shellie, is we have women veterans who transition to being women, right? So we have transgender veterans who have been pushed aside, been scared that they're not going to receive benefits and yada, yada. And we need to kind of embrace the women veterans who have transitioned because there's not a lot of services for them at the VA. There are more now, but not a lot of services. We want to make sure we wrap around all women veterans. So that is another focus I would like to make sure we take on. The one thing, we got to build community in this state. There are a lot of women veterans here. We need to build community. We need to, as leaders in the community, we need to try to spread our reach. And whoever is watching this, join with us to spread our reach. You need to tap on the shoulders of other women, that each one teach one mentality, climb up and bring somebody with you, share the information. That was one of the things in the military I did not like. We didn't share all the information, they used to say share, disseminate down to the lowest level, right? We don't share it all. And we need to make sure that every woman veteran in the state of Washington knows what's available, knows that there's support. We as leaders need to be strong enough to say, hey, I'm a victim. I was a victim. Now I'm a survivor of military sexual trauma. We understand how you may feel. We oftentimes don't want to talk about the military sexual trauma because we believe it's our fault. And it's not. We believe we let our guard down and we were vulnerable and it's our fault for that. It is not. And we need to discuss that. I know that I did not report military sexual trauma because I was honestly afraid that it was my fault, that I allowed it to happen. Not true. And we need to make sure women know that it is not your fault and we need to stand together. There are people suffering right now who are survivors of military sexual trauma, but not being able to survive, actually thrive afterwards because they're still fighting that demon. And we need to be the wraparound group to help take care of that.
Yeah, when you shine the light on one, you shine the light on many. And all we can do is deal with this one situation and then open it up for everybody else that we know has suffered.
And that's really
it's
why
when you touch one, you touch many. When you touch one, you touch many.
Yeah,
you do.
And
Lisa,
we have just learned that.
No, go ahead, Sharon. I saw Lisa take her mic off. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Sharon.
Oh, well, the reason I say that is because as one person, as one advocate, I can reach out and touch one person, but then that one person becomes, then we know the issue exists. And then the whole community, Department of Veterans Affairs, our committee, American Legion, all the service organizations can become more aware because we tell the story of one. And we have ways of doing that with publicity, with interviews, with Zoom meetings. But it starts out with this one story of this one woman. And you find out that the one is many. And then we're able to address the many.
That's very true, Sharon.
Yeah.
And I am, like I said, I'm using myself as an example. I was raped at my first duty station. And this was because of my upbringing and everything. I kept it to myself until last year when I attended my national conference. We had like a session for half a day about military sexual trauma. And it was like, I have to step out, get out, because that's the demon.
That's it.
Me.
The minute you decided to start sharing that is the minute that you opened the door for thousands of other women.
Exactly.
Because if it could happen to Lisa, yes, did it happen to me? It's okay to say it because you had the courage.
And one of the important things that Lisa just said is the rape occurred in her first duty station. Same as mine. I was raped in my first duty station. Think about how old you were. You were young, you thought you knew it all, but you were naive, right? And so that happens to a lot of women. It's that first duty station. that the rape occurs.
Yeah.
And we have got to be able to share that you're not alone.
Yes.
It happened to
Yes.
me
Yeah,
too.
you're
It
not.
happened to Lisa too, right?
Yes.
You're not
Yes.
alone, and we've got to work together.
And
Yes.
you know, the best thing that I ever did when I came back from my conference, like I drove myself twice to the building 65 at the VA American Lake.
Yes.
And I didn't have the courage to do it. I turned around, came home, and then finally the third, I did it one more Friday. I went up, drove myself there, and then I just psyched myself. I said, Lisa, nobody can help you if you don't help yourself. You need
And I
to
think
go there
that's
and
the first
your
step.
demon.
That's the first
Yeah,
step.
so
Yeah.
And if
yeah,
you
so
if
like,
you if you track
this is
all of these
good.
women that are now, if you track all of these women that are now incarcerated, their first duty station where they had something traumatic happen, they thought they had a career in the military.
Yep.
Right then, right there, their career was over.
Yep.
And so every choice after that was one made of just of loss and bigger losses and never being able to do anything because that trauma stuck.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is saying we need to unstick. We need to
Yes.
Yes.
get it out there and allow women to feel like they can trust us.
Yes.
So
So
you don't
Shellie,
have to stay there. Go ahead, Alfie. Yes.
Yeah. So when it comes to that particular area and services, the VA has services for counseling and wellness at the medical centers. They have resources at the community-based outpatient clinics. They have the vet centers. There are 6 in Washington State vet centers, and these are Veterans Counseling Veterans, and MST is one of those areas. WDVA has 41 counselors across the state, and that is in our website. And many of them, not all of them, are versed on MST and all kinds of other issues that are service related. And the one thing that we really want to impress upon our women veterans is that you're not a victim. You know, the issue of being a victim of is such a stigma. You are a survivor.
Yes.
Right.
A survivor, and survivors are triumph. You know, they triumph. You're triumphant over something that happened and you're dealing with. And if you're not and you feel like a victim, it's time to become with that mindset that I am a survivor and I'm going to get what I need to be able to really convince myself of that and then be able to move on.
I think that is such a great way to really kind of bring it all together, knowing where your resources are and knowing that there's more available for you that will help you heal. The key word is all about healing and recovering. And I always say the military does processes very well, but it doesn't do healing. It can take you through a process to address an issue, but there's no healing that actually happens for anyone who has to go through those really egregious assaults. And so we all have to identify that as a thing that is clear for us that we know, but we know where to go to heal. Monique, so each ladies, we've gone over time, but we have time. So what I want each of you to do is I want to wrap it up, and I'm going to end with Alfie. So we'll go Monique, Sharon, Lisa, we'll end with Alfie, and then I'll close us out. But this has just been such a really good and thoughtful conversation. So we'll start with you, Monique.
Okay, so 2 things. I think that we should have a military sexual trauma community conversation.
Okay, I can arrange that.
Maybe you can moderate that. I think that
I
we should
can
invite
arrange
women, and if there are men that want to talk too, because not only women have military sexual trauma, but I think that should be a community conversation.
That could be our webinar.
Okay, don't write it down. Don't write it down, Shellie. It's our webinar. No, I'm kidding.
Okay.
You can fix that. You can work that out. But the one thing I do want to say is just since we have people here for COVID, there are a lot of funds out here right now for COVID relief. If you're struggling with your rent, you're struggling with your mortgage, you need food, what have you. Pierce County has more COVID relief fund.
CARES, the CARES Act.
Fob Hope in Pierce County has COVID relief fund. King County Veterans Program has like $300,000 to help veterans. So please reach out to those organizations. I put my information in the chat. If you don't know how to reach out, contact me. I'll get you to the right folks. I can help with the application for the King County Veterans Program. I can steer you in the right direction for Pierce County. And if you're a veteran who lives in Pierce County, of course, Fob Hope has some funding. So I want to be sure that I say that before I leave.
All right, Sharon.
Oh, God, I was so interested in Monique. I was like listening. I want to close out by saying that, you know, my personal experience with two of the women veterans that were brought to me, I've learned 4 key things with women who are wanting to leave this earth. One is be positive with them. Listen, just listen to them. Keep them talking. I had to keep one of our veterans talking until the next day when Monique got there. Give of your time. Give of your time. And then finally, it's give them their options. All of these things that they don't know they have. Give them what options they have. It could be seeing a service officer, calling the hotline, arranging for a visit, tapping into this money that Monique is talking about. And we did it and we succeeded. And that's like the high note on a not so good subject.
That's great. It just sounds like strategic partnerships and definitely, yes, community. Lisa?
Thank you. And all I can say, like Sharon said, you know, there is help out there. You know, I am only a phone call away. I posted my phone number, my email address. And as I mentioned earlier, the VA has a women veterans hotline, which is 855-829-6636. And please, let's reach out to all our sister at arms and bring them home. You know, let's start here in Washington State. Let's do a groundbreaking stuff that, you know, majority of our women veterans are connected to their earned services. We are women veterans. We are strong.
Powerful. Yes. Yes. Alfie.
This is not just a webinar or a call or a Facebook Live. This is a call to action. This is a call to action in being able to, you know, first of all, like in the plane, put the oxygen mask on you first, but then you have the responsibility, we have the responsibility of them putting that mask on others who are not able to do it for themselves. So find ways of being able to connect, you know, find ways of being able to really get into the services that are available so that you can help others. And lastly, I would like to offer, there's this peer-to-peer training that we're doing.
Good training.
It's a 1 day to be able to get veterans, especially women veterans in this case, to be able to get trained a little bit more on building relationships, a little bit on suicide prevention, on referral services. It is something that we do free of charge in our agency, and we would love to have several sessions with all women to be able to start developing sister squads that are going to be able to do rapid response to be able to serve a woman veteran in need. And something that I have not spoken yet to the Women Veterans Advisory Committee, but we need to do that all over the state and have squads go out there and do intervention and then get out to be able to move on to the next thing. So more on that coming up, but call to action, sisters.
Oh my goodness. I don't know about anybody else, but just in this group, this is just an amazing, amazing panel of amazing women. Their words are I'm never speechless. I always have words. I'm never speechless. But you all have really graced not just me, but the community at large with all of this knowledge. So we're streaming this on several different platforms and several different pages. When this is done, you'll be able to publish, you'll be able to share it out as well, because the more it's shared out, the more the information will be able to get out, and the more that we will be able to spread the word about what we are doing in Washington State to be able to really advocate and activate our women veteran community. Not only do we have state presence, but we have a dynamic duo that it has national presence. We're breaking barriers and we're changing things. Change starts now. Change starts with you. And so if you're watching this, when you watch it, please feel free to share it. But know this, we're sharing information on how to connect with each and every one of these women. We're sharing information on how to connect with the WDVA and all of the resources. We're giving you the single point of contact that is Liza Narcisco. She is the single point of contact. But if you want to get involved, it doesn't mean you have to create another thing. What this means is that you can get in alignment and you can join in a collaborative way for outreach, to convene, and to connect. And that is what we want you to do. And I, on my own platform going forward, Crucial Conversations is available and will be readily available to support the work of our Washington State Women Veterans Committee and what it wants to, advisory committee, and whatever you need to do. So if that's starting another Crucial Conversation, let me know if that's what you want to do. Bringing your best and highest contribution is where we show up the best. And so if I can create a way to galvanize voices, this is what I want to do. And my road to advocating for women veterans, for homeless women veterans, this has been so eye-opening. I get to learn even more and I get to be present for even more. So let me know what you need and I will show up for you. We will show up for you.
Thank you,
Thank
Shellie.
you so much for joining me,
Yes.
ladies. I appreciate you and love you so much. And I also want to make sure that you know that you can definitely share this, this stream. Once we finish it and closes it out, it should be ready and loaded for you to share. Thank you again for joining us. My name is Shellie Willis, and you have been watching Crucial Conversations.